The terracotta feels rough beneath your thumb. You press it into the filling hole. This oil lamp, palm-sized, the color of dried mud. You tilt it toward the last sliver of daylight coming through the wooden shutters. 5 stories above the Roman street, in an apartment barely larger than a modern bathroom, this lamp is not simply a tool for making light, is a statement. Across the city, in a marble-clad domus, another Roman is lighting a lamp tonight. But theirs is cast in bronze, polished, decorated with a gladiator's triumph or a god's profile. The flame they produce may be identical to yours. The social distance between them is not. Let me show you how something as mundane as a lamp became one of the clearest markers of wealth and poverty in the ancient world. Quick note, this content is educational, based on archaeological evidence and ancient historical sources. Now, consider the oil lamp as it existed across the Mediterranean world. Oil lamps appeared in this region by the 3rd millennium before Christ. Simple ceramic bowls with a pinched spout for the wick, open flames, smoky, inefficient. For 2,000 years, they changed little. Each lamp was shaped by hand, one at a time, by a potter who knew his craft. Then the Romans industrialized them. Sometime in the 2nd or 1st century BC, Roman workshops began using 2-part molds. Press clay into the lower half. Add the upper half. Fire it in a kiln. 100 lamps in a day, each one identical to the last. This was mass production long before the modern assembly line. What's remarkable is that this technological shift did 2 things simultaneously. It made lamps affordable for nearly everyone in the Roman world. But it also created a new form of stratification. The mold might be identical. The material was not. Evidence suggests that 3 types of lamps circulated in Roman cities. Terracotta, the most common, made from fired clay. Bronze, far more expensive, cast or hammered by metal workers. Silver or gold, almost entirely ceremonial, reserved for temples and the tombs of the very wealthy. The poor owned terracotta, the rich owned bronze, and between them stretched an unbridgeable social chasm. Consider this, the same workshop could produce 100 identical lamps in a day. Yet sameness in production did not create sameness in ownership. Pliny the Elder, writing in the 1st century AD, describes the Roman reliance on olive oil for lighting. But he notes, without saying it directly, that not all olive oil was created equal. Fine oil, pale and fragrant, for the tables and lamps of the wealthy. Lamp oil of dubious origin, darker, rancid, for everyone else. The satirist Juvenal would later mock this oil as redolent of lamp fuel, the smell of poverty itself. Let us examine how these lamps were actually made. The process begins with clay. Not fine clay, not the kind used for expensive pottery, but common terracotta. The potter takes a 2-part mold, already carved with whatever design the workshop has chosen. For expensive lamps, this might be a scene from mythology. Hercules wrestling the lion, Venus rising from the sea. For cheap lamps, nothing, just the smooth, blank surface of the discus, the decorative top plate. He presses the clay into the lower mold, then the upper mold. He removes it, trims the edges, and sets it aside to dry. Later, it goes into the kiln, hundreds at a time. The smell of the kiln is earthy, acrid, the heat intense enough to vitrify the clay's surface. When it emerges, the lamp is finished. Almost. The potter stamps his mark on the base, a maker's mark. Quality control, yes, but also a subtle indication of status. Certain workshops became known for their quality. Certain brands, if we can call them that, were sought after. Archaeological evidence from sites like Plos in Asia Minor, Mysia in Dacia, and Histria on the Black Sea shows us these makers' marks. Some workshops exported their lamps across the empire. Others served only local markets. It seems that owning a lamp from a prestigious workshop was, in its own small way, a mark of refinement. Now consider the bronze lamps. Bronze is not clay. It cannot be molded in the same way. It must be cast using the lost wax method or hammered from sheet metal. Both processes require skill. Both require time. A bronze lamp might take days to produce. A terracotta lamp, minutes. The result is an object of entirely different character. The bronze lamp is heavy, solid. It catches the light, reflects it back in warm golden tones. The handle might be shaped like a dolphin, or a satyr, or a slave's head. The filling hole might have a hinged lid, elaborately decorated. The discus, instead of being a flat circle of terracotta, becomes a canvas for high-relief sculpture. These lamps were not just functional. They were art objects, status symbols. A wealthy Roman might own dozens of them, displayed throughout the house each. One burning refined olive oil, it gave off minimal smoke and a faint, pleasant scent. What's remarkable is that the flame itself, that small, flickering tongue of light, was democratized, but the vessel that held it was not. A bronze lamp might burn the same oil as a clay one, yet its owner inhabited a different world. Here's what the archaeological record reveals about light itself. A single oil lamp produces roughly the equivalent of 1 candle's worth of light. In modern terms, perhaps 5 to 10 lumens. Enough to read by if you hold the lamp close. Enough to navigate a room, barely. Not enough to illuminate a space the way we understand illumination today. For the wealthy, this was not a problem. They owned many lamps. In a large domus, a triclinium, the dining room might have a dozen lamps burning during an evening banquet. Bronze candelabra held multiple lamps at once. Slaves moved through the house, trimming wicks, refilling oil, keeping the darkness at bay. For the poor, lighting was rationed. Evidence suggests that a typical plebeian household in an insula, those multi-story apartment blocks that house most of Rome's population, might own 2 or 3 lamps at most, perhaps only 1. And the oil to fuel them was expensive. Rancid oil, yes, cheaper than the refined kind, but still a significant portion of a day laborer's wage. So the poor lived in darkness. They woke with the sun and slept soon after it set. Nighttime activities, reading, conversation, work, were luxuries they could scarcely afford. And then there is the matter of decoration. On the discus of a fine terracotta lamp, you might find gladiators, locked in combat, erotic scenes, explicit and unashamed, gods and goddesses, mythological tableau. These images were not merely decorative, they were cultural signifiers. A lamp depicting a famous gladiator connected its owner to the spectacle of the arena. A lamp showing Venus or Mars connected them to the myths and values of Roman religion. The poor owned lamps with no such imagery, plain excuses, geometric patterns at best, sometimes nothing at all, just the functional form, the filling hole, the nozzle, the wick channel. Evidence suggests that this distinction persisted even into death. Wealthy tombs excavated across the Roman world contain elaborate lamps among the grave goods. Bronze lamps, ornate terracotta lamps with intricate relief work. The lamp was meant to light the deceased's way into the afterlife, or to honor them, or simply to display the family's wealth. Poor graves, when they contain lamps at all, contain the simplest versions, plain terracotta, no decoration, sometimes no maker's mark, the cheapest possible offering to the dead. Now let me address a common misconception. Popular media, films like Gladiator, television series like Rome, often show Roman interiors bathed in warm, steady light. Marble halls glowing softly. Shadows, yes, but romantic ones. Flattering. The evidence suggests a different reality for most Romans. A single clay lamp, sputtering on rancid oil, in a fifth-floor apartment where fire was an ever-present terror. The insulae were built largely of wood, packed densely. A lamp knocked over, a wick that sparked, and an entire building could burn. Juvenal writes about this fear, the dread of the Roman poor, that their flimsy homes would go up in flames while they slept. So even light, that most basic need, came, with danger for the poor, and luxury for the rich. The decorative motifs we see on expensive lamps, gladiators and gods, were not universally accessible. They required more expensive molds, more skilled craftsmen, better clay, longer firing times. The workshops that produced them served a wealthier clientele. We might imagine a plebeian walking past a shop that sold such lamps, looking in, seeing the bronze lamp with the dolphin handle, the terracotta lamp showing Hercules, and knowing, without needing to be told, that these were not for him. Consider what remains today. Thousands of Roman lamps survive in museum collections around the world. They are among the most common artifacts of Roman daily life. Cheap to produce, durable, small enough to escape notice when a city was sacked or abandoned. And so they endure. Their very ubiquity obscures the inequality they embodied. We see them in display cases, arranged by type, by date, by workshop. We admire the craftsmanship of the bronze examples. We note the iconography on the terracotta ones. But we rarely ask who could afford which lamp, and what did that mean for how they lived. The lamp becomes a lens. Just as it once revealed the Roman world in flickering light, and now reveals the social world of its users. The distance between a terracotta lamp and a bronze one was not merely aesthetic. It was economic, social, existential even. It was the difference between a life lived mostly in darkness and a life where light was abundant. Here's what matters. The objects we use every day, the things we barely think about, encode our place in the world. In ancient Rome, it was lamps. Today, it might be the model of smartphone we carry, the brand of car we drive, the quality of the clothing we wear. Future archaeologists sifting through the ruins of our cities will find these objects, and they will try to read them, to understand what they meant, to reconstruct the invisible hierarchies that governed our lives. They may struggle, as we do with Roman lamps, to see past the object's function to its social meaning, but the meaning is there. It was there in the rough terracotta beneath a plebeian's thumb. It was there in the polished bronze on a patrician's table. It is here, now, in the things we touch and use and discard without thinking. That terracotta lamp, rough beneath your thumb, has long since gone dark. But in the museums where it rests today, it still tells us something, not just about how Romans made light, but about who had the right to make it beautifully.